What's up, guys? It's Jerome here, and I'm back with another video. Today, I want to talk to you guys about investment banking interview questions and how I studied for those during my recruitment process. But before we get into that, I wanted to make sure to tell you guys that I am working on a brand new YouTube channel with some friends of mine called The Nonsense Brewery. We've got a really fun weekly podcast that's going to be over there, and on top of that, some of the non-finance and tech-related content that's been on this channel in the past is going to be moving to that channel, so please go subscribe and make sure you support that channel. I'm going to cut to a little clip from this week's podcast right now, so then you guys know what to expect from that channel. You guys listen to K-pop?
Nah, I haven't gotten into it.
Yeah, BTS. You listen to some BTS?
Aren't they the biggest group right now, pretty much?
They're like the biggest music artist in the
What
world.
about
or
Psy?
something.
Gangnam Style.
We're having him.
That's
Bro,
like
you're stuck in
20 years ago.
2012, man. Yeah,
Is it
you're stuck in-
2012?
I don't know. I think so. I think 2012.
Didn't he come out recently and say like kill all Americans?
No,
Oh,
you're
that's-
thinking
that
of
was
Kim
Kim
Jong-un.
I swear that
same
guy-
wavelength.
We're
we all
all
went
on
to the
that.
same place.
He did say
I
something
swear he said
recently
that.
though. I think I saw an article about him saying that shit again. So
Interesting.
What if when they thought Kim Jong Un was dead, he just comes back out on TV one day, but it's Psy. It's just Kim Jong Psy.
Jesus.
Well, okay. And this is not me being racist. I swear.
We'll see.
Oh, you can't. There's nothing you can
I'm gonna
say.
preface it by saying
There's
this is
nothing
not
you
me
can
being
say.
racist.
That makes it
Psy
worse.
does look like Kim Jong-un a little bit.
Nah.
I guess.
I mean,
guess
it's
you're
come
on.
Asian,
The
so-
only reason it's not
Come on,
racist
give it
is
to me.
because
Give
you
it to
think
me.
Mark Wahlberg looks like Matt Damon. That's the
Yeah,
only
pretty much. I think
reason.
Jerome needs to get.
He's just blind.
Like I said, if you guys liked that clip, make sure and go subscribe to that channel. I'll make sure to leave the information somewhere on this screen or down in the description below. Anyways, let's talk about investment banking interview questions. So investment banking interviews are broken into two main components. You've got behavioral questions and you've got your technical questions. The behavioral questions are ones you can expect from other interviews you've probably done in the past, like give us some of your strengths, what are some of your weaknesses, maybe tell us about a time that you got into an argument with a coworker. Whereas the technical questions are going to be ones that are more finance related, like walk me through a DCF or tell me what the 3 valuation methods are. For the behavioral questions, there really is no right or wrong answer. They're really just trying to figure out what type of person you are and if you'll fit in well with their company culture. So if you've made it to the interview stage, then hopefully you've talked to several people at that bank and you should know what kind of qualities each different bank looks for in a really good candidate. So you can use those qualities that all these bankers have talked about and use those to kind of formulate your answers. Now, obviously, it goes without saying, don't lie. If one of the bankers told you that a quality they really look for in a candidate is that they're a really great multitasker, but you, for instance, aren't, don't say you're a good multitasker during the interview. At this point, the interviewers and the banks will start to weed people out based on cultural fit, so there's not really much you can do to prepare for this other than just practice saying your answers out loud so you're not stumbling over your words. As for the technical questions, I really recommend getting something like the 400 questions from Breaking into Wall Street, especially if you're coming from a non-finance background like I was. Obviously, there are a bunch of these questions, so I'm not going to go over all of them right now, but instead I'm going to give you a couple different examples and kind of walk you through my thought process when I was studying for those questions. So the first guaranteed question you're going to have is some type of accounting question that deals with the 3 financial statements. They're going to start with something like, you buy a piece of equipment for $100 cash. Walk me through how that's going to affect all 3 of the financial statements. Now, I know that first example seems really easy, but the way that they can make it more difficult is by saying something like, instead of spending $100 in cash to buy that equipment, let's say you financed it with debt, and after 5 years, you're going to sell the piece of equipment for $20 salvage value. If you haven't started studying your accounting yet, a lot of that might have sounded very foreign to you, but that is how they can make these simple questions very tricky. Now, the way that you answer this question is to walk through every single step you're making on each of the financial statements as you're doing them. You want to make sure you're saying everything out loud so the interviewer can really understand your thought process. A lot of the time, especially with the more tricky questions, you don't actually have to get the final answer correct. And to clarify, you should get it correct. That is the ideal situation. But what they're more interested in is how your thought process works and how you're going to think through that problem. If you just sit there and scribble down a bunch of notes on your piece of paper and then give a final answer at the very end, the interviewer doesn't have any way to judge your thought process or the quality of your answer. So whenever you're answering these technical questions, you always want to make sure you're saying everything out loud and really trying to walk them through every step you're making. Another really common question that you could get is the walk me through a DCF question. Again, this is meant to be one of those softball questions that everyone will ask you, so make sure you have your answer 100% airtight. A DCF is an intrinsic valuation method where you use assumptions to project out unlevered free cash flow for 5 to 10 years. Then you calculate a terminal value using multiples or using the Gordon growth method. Once you've done that, you can discount everything to a net present value using a discount rate, typically something like the WACC. Now, the way that they could make this question more difficult is to ask you a bunch of follow-up questions based on the answer you've given. For example, they could ask you, what is a WACC? Why do you only make projections between 5 and 10 years? Why not more? Why not less? What is the relationship between the cost of debt and the cost of equity? So again, what I recommend here is you start with that basic definition of what a DCF is. Then once you have that basic knowledge, you can start expanding onto all of the little details that they could ask you follow-up questions about. And I would basically apply that same methodology to any question that you would find in the 400Q. I hope that helped a little bit and gave you guys a little bit of insight on how I studied for the interview questions and my approach. To be honest with you, there's no trick to learning the answers to these technical questions. So you really do just have to sit down with something like the 400Q and just grind until you understand the concepts enough to form answers. Best of luck to everyone who is either interviewing right now or is trying to get a head start for interview season next year. If this video helped you, please smash that like button down below and share the video with some of your friends who may also be recruiting for banking. As always, please subscribe to the channel. I actually made this video based off of a comment that someone left on a previous video, so if you have any questions about investment banking or the recruiting process or anything at all, leave those questions in the comments and maybe you will be featured in the next video. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.